Watching the news is so depressing these days. Populism, nationalism, extremism, they all seem to be increasing again. I have the feeling that democracy is under threat in our society.
Yes, I feel you. And at the same time, we face this huge challenge to stop climate change and turn our society into a sustainable one. I wish there was anything we could do.
Democracy in Western societies has seen better times. Populist parties are on the rise and people's trust in the political system decreases. Elections all over Europe prove that populists succeed in gaining a significant part of votes. In this context, citizen participation is discussed as a possible means to actively engage people in political processes, thereby strengthening our democracy again. Some apply the same idea to sustainable development. By giving people the opportunity to actively shape their future, more people could get on board and necessary radical changes could be more likely to be accepted. Might this perception of citizen participation be too idealistic? What can citizen participation really contribute to democracy and sustainable development? And how can this contribution be enhanced? An important question to start with is, what do we actually mean when we talk about citizen participation? When looking into the literature, we can find many different terms, such as public engagement, citizen engagement, or public participation. Generally, elections and protests are not included in these terms. What all these different terms have in common, however, is that they differentiate between two different levels. The macro level is about citizens' integration into the political system, whereas the micro level means the interaction between citizens and their local government. It is also important to differentiate between legally mandated citizen participation and not legally mandated citizen participation. The legally mandated one mostly applies in cases of infrastructure projects and comprises public hearings, public town hall meetings, petitions, or referenda, just to name a few examples. Not legally mandated citizen participation means that municipalities have the choice whether to use and implement these tools or not. This decision mainly depends on the political climate of a city as well as its strategic orientation. This type comprises future conferences, world cafes, roundtables, participative budgeting, online dialogues, and much more. When we look at the development of citizen participation, we can see that the dominant administrative principle has changed over the decades. The 80s were marked by the logic of the new public management, which had a clear focus on economic principles and where citizens were considered as customers, as mere recipients of public services. Towards the end of the 1990s and the beginning of the new millennium, the idea of the citizen municipality got more prominent. Now, citizens are seen as co-creators and as an important source of input for decision-making processes, which is why a special focus lies on citizen participation. The aim is to increase legitimacy and to ensure that local governments act in the citizens' interests. So, what can citizens actually do to make their ideas a part of administrative and political decisions? Which formats does, for example, the city of Mannheim offer? One interesting project is the so-called participative budget, which this year has been implemented by the city for the second time. All residents of Mannheim over the age of 16 can participate by posting ideas on the platform or by voting for the proposals of others. The most popular ideas with the most votes will be implemented by the city, as long as it is within the city's jurisdiction. In the 2019 edition, Mannheim provided 500,000 euros for realizing the winning ideas. Another promising format is the Urban Thinkers Campus, established by the United Nations. During this 3-day event, citizens can develop ideas and visions in different workshops, which then are included into the city's future planning. Up to this day, Mannheim is the only German city to organize this event, which shows that the city is a frontrunner in providing innovative citizen participation formats. So far, so good. But what are the challenges cities encounter with regards to participation processes?
One major mistakes cities or local governments can make is to neglect citizen participation when doing big policy programs or starting big policy programs. So just not to think about the citizens as a possible input element. So this is one major mistake local governments can make. I think they can another problem for citizen participation occurs if you do it and you implement, I don't know, a planning cell, for instance, but then the ideas generated in those different those different instruments, they never reach political debate, and this is very dangerous because then you have this kind of frustration on the side of the citizens because they feel probably they won't feel respected in the work they do.
In principle, if there is a project which has been controversial for a long time, I encounter something that I call an advance of mistrust. It is an extreme atmosphere of mistrust between all actors. We, in Heidelberg, actually always talk about a trialogue between citizenship, politics and administration. So this is a huge challenge because trust is a fragile good, and to rebuild trust is extremely difficult. And the moment something happens that seems to justify the old mistrust, it quickly disappears again.
Citizen participation, it's not the same on a national level than in a local level. So the projects are much more concrete. But we have to be cautious on asking everything to the people, because asking the people requires them to have the knowledge, to have the information. So when we want to ask something to the people, I believe we need to tell them exactly what do we want from them. So this is what we want to ask you. These are the beneficial points of this, and these are the cons of this.
Another challenge that is often mentioned is the difficulty to actually attract citizens, and especially a diverse group of citizens, to all these events and formats. Which measures do cities take to promote their various offers?
That's one of the biggest issues, how you get a representative group from the citizen into these participation processes. We've tried a lot, also with different languages or with cultural agents, and the best efforts we had with inviting the people randomized. That we say, okay, we have here 5,000 people living in the suburb, and now randomized, we choose 500 from them. They are getting a letter from the mayor, and there the response is quite good. So you reach people who were never in a process before, and think that at the moment this is the best way to get almost a representative group in such workshops.
This is always the main question: how do we get to more people, or especially these minorities, these target groups we usually not achieve? And a very good way to get to these people is to visit them, to really go into their suburbs or to their organization, and to try to get into contact through this organization.
The city does not only expect citizens to react to advertisement, but tries to really get into contact with them. What are the more classical approaches the city uses to promote projects like the participative budget?
To promote the Beteiligungshaushalt 2019, we took the classical media. We made posters for the tram, but also along the streets, along the roads. You have places for posters. We did that. We have many posts over social media. We also made a video. We made a postcard, kind of a flyer, but more like a postcard it is, to spread over Mannheim. And we are also planning still to produce 10 more videos one video per idea of the kind of top 10. Because we think at the moment this is kind of the medium that the people like to watch, and we took that also in our portfolio.
Promotion does not seem to be the problem. Cities make numerous and diverse efforts to attract people. They not only use traditional promotion techniques and social media, but they actively contact citizens, use existing networks as multiplicators, send randomized invitations, or go to regular meeting spots. So why aren't there more people at participation events? The question, which role and duties citizens have, inevitably arises.
A city cannot be ordered, a city is shaped by all of us together. I think it is a part of a real, vivid, open and honest democracy that people move their asses, take action and start handling things on their own, to put it bluntly. There are still too many people who just adapt, who don't make up their own mind, and who don't contribute. At best, they dawdle in social media about things they don't like, but they don't tackle them. I explicitly used such slangy expressions because I believe that, altogether, this is one of the biggest deficits of our democratic culture, to always believe that oneself could achieve nothing. But that is simply wrong.
So on the one hand you can say citizens live in a representative democracy, so they vote, and then politicians can do whatever they have been promoting in their programs, and citizens do not have any duty anymore because they voted with the objective to have experts deciding in accordance with their interests, and then say, okay, I did my duty, and then I do not want to talk about politics anymore. And on the other hand, I would say, given that people often claim and are unsatisfied with the decisions politicians take, then in the neighborhood, in the local government, I would argue, if they give you the chance to influence or the decision-making process, or if they try to listen to you, then you have to go there and to talk if you have something to say. And if you haven't said anything, do not complain afterwards.
Not only with regards to participation in such processes, but also concerning the decisions and input that result from them, a closer look to the role of the individual seems appropriate. Is citizen participation a suitable means to enhance sustainable development? Or do single wishes outweigh common long-term interests?
I see certain limits concerning citizen participation, especially if it is supposed to solve ecological and long-term sustainability problems. I'm afraid that we are still dominated by the model of Homo economicus, the principle of maximizing self-interests. And if this behavior meets ecological or sustainability requirements, which are long-term oriented, and about the next or even the next 10 generations, which we don't know, which we cannot identify with, and which we cannot project on our self-interests. In this case, citizen participation fails. We can currently see that in Germany. The wind power industry is on the ground, because every time a wind power station is to be built, a citizen movement is formed, which is critical, goes to court and says, power comes out of the socket, but no wind power station in my town, not in my backyard. And these maxims are prioritized, and singular interests mostly win. So, I believe that regarding ecological and sustainability issues, citizen participation is not the ideal solution. We also have to make ourselves clear that there is a big deficit when it comes to citizen participation and sustainability problems. Because those generations that sustainability really is about are those which are not yet alive. So, in this respect, it is always a not completely fair procedure, but one that is dominated by partial interests. since the people who live now have different interests than the ones living in the future. Therefore, this tool is also problematic, structure-wise, I think.
As we can see, citizen participation is not without its problems and deficits when it comes to sustainable development. But is this view on participation processes too pessimistic? How do others evaluate the role of citizen participation when it comes to sustainability issues?
Citizen participation is an open process, but with increasing awareness for sustainability matters, they get a more important role in the participation processes. Of course, citizen participation doesn't release us from enhancing people's awareness for sustainability. Most have it when it comes to attitude, but when it comes to behavior or even accepting disadvantage, it gets way more difficult. But only by talking and fighting about it, we will change that. So we need citizen participation for a sustainable development, but it does not automatically lead to it.
First of all, for me, there is no alternative to citizen participation. We need the knowledge of the citizen, but we also need the contact for the social cohesion. And so there's no question that we need it. And at the moment, or in the last 20 years, in Germany, this is the main problem, that you have too much weight on the individual rights. It's right to have a weight on the individual rights, but then if you have processes like building windmills, it lasts a very long time because you have too much weight on single interests and not on the interests of the public people and the public value and the common good. And I think we have to discuss this. And it's hard work, but at the moment it's more retarding the whole efforts in some issues. There is for me, or I think also for other people, no alternative to a democracy and all these other systems at the moment which are very smart and making better efforts and faster efforts. If you look to them on a democracy index, then I would say, okay, this couldn't be the prize. And so we have to look for our democracy on the one hand to get more cohesion in the society and especially in the younger people. On the other hand, perhaps we have to renew it to make faster decisions so that we can stabilize the whole system and getting also fast efforts like autocratic systems without the negative effects.
There seems to be consensus that democratic systems need to be renewed, especially in light of the current global anti-democratic tendencies.
We have to be autocritical, meaning that if these populist voices are being heard, it's because we, the people that has been in the system, working for the system, trying to make it a better place, perhaps we didn't make it good enough.
So in Italy we are really expert about populism, and they got a common root that is don't worry, your problem, I want to solve your problem, but give me all the power, yeah? I will decide for your good, yeah? And without nothing really difficult or nothing really complex. You have to believe in me, and I want to solve all your problems. Democracy is something difficult. Democracy is something that we have to feed every time, yeah, and we have to feed together.
We currently have the problem that our democracy is somewhat languishing. And here we need instruments to create identification, to fill people with enthusiasm and to get them on board, to not cultivate this feeling of up there is the establishment and down here it's me, on my own, and nobody listens to me. Here, citizen participation can be a suitable way to lead out of this problem, especially locally in municipalities.
Citizen participation is an important tool to strengthen and increase trust in democracy. However, participation formats as well as our democratic system as a whole need to be enhanced. New, innovative concepts have to be developed. The status quo is not enough.
we have to go on further so that we involve more people into participation, and therefore we are looking via innovative formats or via digitalization to make things less complex so that the people can contribute on it. That is the big issue for the next 5 years.
The accessibility of citizen participation processes depends on different factors. Do I actually find myself in a good and healthy living situation in which I have the resources to participate and to contribute? So, of course, a city which, as far as possible, is concerned about social equality and tries to establish that, is indirectly important to enable people to get access to the community and to develop the willingness to contribute. There is this beautiful quote by Willy Brandt from 50 years ago. Let's dare more democracy.
Wir wollen mehr Demokratie
I
wagen.
think this is still valid. We have to do that. But interestingly, and most people don't know this, he connected it to his statement that we not only need more freedom, but also more responsibility, the willingness to take responsibility. And I think we should make ourselves clear that if we want a more diverse, broad democracy, we also have to take over more responsibilities. And at the same time, we have to discuss intensively. After all, discussion is the heart of democracy, and the more objective, the more content-focused, and the less overloaded with power issues, the more successful it will be. And I think that we should try to get there again. If I want things to change, I'm on board, so to say. I'm part of the risk, and I cannot just simply say, I want the city or the mayor or people from the community to do this or that for me. What do I, myself, do to make this happen? How can I contribute above taking part in citizen participation events? By being active in my district, in my neighborhood, in my company, in my school, or wherever I spend my time.
I think that Spielamberto is a good example. Spielamberto is the community that I've got in our region the highest percent of foreigner citizen residents. And our city council of young people, without clear indication, are composed by half girls and half boys, and with a percent of people with non-Italian citizenship really high. And so I think that children now are living in the future. And I think that so with them we have not to talk about democracy, but we have to experiment democracy. Now we are feeding, seeding, and we will see it in the future, but I'm full of hope.
Going into the future, we need citizens to take more responsibility in action. We need innovative, engaging participation formats, and we need an overall reform of our democratic system. If we can make this happen, we will be able to master the challenges that lie ahead of us.